How's everybody doing tonight? Good? For those who don't know, my name is Scott Dixon. I go by Coach Scott in this community, and I'm the founder of a movement in your community called Self-Care U and Level Up Living. So who am I, right? I grew up in Scarborough, in Oshawa, in a single household, my mom, my brother, my sister, and I. And you can tell, obviously, I forgot somebody in that equation. I don't really have too many amazing memories, but I sat on the stage last year and I talked about that relationship that I have and those memories that I potentially have with my dad, and there are not very many of them. So I challenge you to picture through this window, right? And through this window, it's cold out, it's 4 in the morning, it's dark, snowy. I'm about 5 years old, right? My mom comes into the room and she says, grab everything. And for me, like a 5-year-old kid, that means I gotta make sure that I get all 4 Ninja Turtles. Like that is mandatory for me. But as I grew up, that was the only memory I had. I started to develop more memories and started to realize that on Saturday night, I sat down with my mom and my dad, my brother, my sister, and I had dinner. And on Sunday, I woke up at the Denise shelter, never to see my dad ever again. And then so I struggled with a lot of that understanding of like, why me? Like, why would you, kind of not want to support your children, things of that nature. And, I was a good student. I was a good kid. I had great academics. I was a male athlete of the year all 4 years, played basketball at a high level. I was a good kid, and in my community, a lot of the guys that I know slipped into some trouble, and I happened to stay away from it. So I was lucky in that regard. But what really was my situation was I struggled with my self-confidence. I struggled with my self-worth of who I am and why I'm here and what I'm trying to give to my family or to myself. Just generally having that self-worth is really what I struggled with, right? Like, why am I even here, right? All these great things are coming to me. I have, don't get me wrong too, like my mom was amazing, right? But there's things that you can get from your father that you can't get, right? That you really need from your father, that if he's not there, you can't get. And so I struggled with those things, and that's really why I created Self-Care U. And hopefully you'll start seeing it. We're in our 3rd year now. I actually just got a text message from one of our players the other day. He does some co-op over at Charles Bowman. He was like, man, this like 7th graders running around with his Level Up Living shirt. And I was like, you go over there and you tell them Coach Scott says, what's up? Like that's the community that we're trying to make. And Self-Care U premise is about promoting positivity always, right? So we're doing that through a bunch of different avenues that I would love to share with you. And like Dylan, we connected on the podcast front. So we have what's called the Self-Care U podcast, right? And we took a little break over the summer because we focused on some programs that I'll tell you about. But really, I have 2 favorite episodes that I wanted to share. The first episode is episode number 2. It's with a good friend of ours, my wife and I, is Danielle Mackay. She's a stage 4 colon cancer survivor. So when you hear stage 4, right, you generally think like things aren't great, right? Like things aren't, the upside is not and a positive outlook. Well, she beat cancer. She has 2 kids, a great husband, a good family, and everything's going well. And that's one of the conversations we had. My second favorite is episode 35. That's with Brett McLean. So some of you might remember Brett from this area, right? He was on the Oshawa Generals, played with John Tavares. He was part of that Oshawa General year where he had 60 goals in a season, 1st round draft pick into the NHL to the Phoenix Coyotes. He was traded over to Winnipeg when they came back into the NHL. And unfortunately, on his 23rd birthday, in summer training on the ice, Brett collapsed, had a cardiac arrest. And that ended his NHL career. Especially when you think about like John Tavares just went through his 1,000th game, right? And Brett's watching like a good friend of his go through that, and he has to relive that kind of memories of guys that are in the NHL. But to this day, even on our podcast, we talked about like the doctors had absolutely no reason as to why it happened. Nobody knows why he had his cardiac arrest. We're talking about like an elite athlete, right? So those are the types of conversations that we have on the podcast. The second thing, really like our flagship program. It's what we live by. You'll see it everywhere. It's our Level Up Leadership program. And we're in schools, we're in, we're in BHS, we're in Clarington Central. We're talking to baseball teams and hockey teams and basketball teams. We're talking to whoever will give us the opportunity to tell what we have going on, right? And we're teaching leadership qualities, and we're teaching about mentorship and what it is to be a good human being in your community, to support and give back. And we do that by the GAP philosophy, right? So the GAP philosophy for us, G stands for coming from a giving nature. And I'm not talking about like, I'm gonna give away like my money, my lunch money, or anything along those lines. I'm talking about like having the ability to give my time to someone who really needs it. Have the opportunity to listen to somebody when they need it. Or maybe I just need to help that individual. And so G comes from having a giving nature. And A is being authentic. Because to be quite honest, I think everybody knows it here, like we can smell fake from a mile away, so if you're not being true to who you are, then what are we really trying to do, right? You're really just chasing something that isn't necessarily you. And that's how we believe. So it's coming from a giving nature, being authentic, and then P is, like you can guess, it's positivity. But it's not like rainbows and lollipop types of positivity. It's like the way you perceive information, right? A lot of individuals have this negative mindset where like it clouds their judgment. And they're missing opportunities that are coming their way because they're so judgmental on what's happening and how they operate on a day-to-day basis. And as soon as you clear that judgment out of your way and you start thinking positively, you'll start to see that those level up opportunities are right there in front of you. Those opportunities come right to you and they start coming in good organization because you're prepared for them, right? Because you've cleared out all the negative junk. In our program too, we're really trying to make sure that we teach every level that we can to youth or whoever's trying to learn about leadership, and we try and teach some of the not so nice things about leadership. Look, I'm a basketball coach, like I get it. I understand parents, I understand sometimes like you're never going to get the positive things from parents or players or whatever it may be. And what we've come to learn, we try and teach in our programs is, you know, as a leader, there's gonna come a situation where you're gonna have to make a tough decision and negatively affect somebody that is in your circle. Right? For me, like, I absolutely hate it. Like, some of my guys are here tonight and like, we just went through cuts. It's like the worst time. I hate it. I don't enjoy it at all. I wish we could have 30 guys on our basketball team, but it's just not what it's going to be. So that's something I struggle with, right? Struggle with also, like, sometimes you make adjustments in your program or whatever it may be, and someone may make a comment about that you don't have the opportunity to really correct, ever. And as a leader, you have to understand that that just comes with the territory. And then lastly, like in everything in life, you know, not everyone's gonna get you. Some people that I know in the community that I grew up with, in the world that I grew up in, like literally think I'm crazy, right? But this is legitimately what I believe leads you into the next steps and gives you that level up moment so that you can progress. You know, this year we really took the opportunity to level up. We really pushed ourselves, and we're just pushing into our third year. And this summer, we really pushed the boundaries. We partnered with the Rotary Club of Curtis and Bowmanville. We partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we partnered with the YWCA in Durham region. And we offered a whole slate of programs in the summer, all the way through to where we are right now. The first program that we offered was our Level Up Elite program. It's a training program for the top 30 basketball players in the Durham region, male and female, to come. And we offered this for $100 for the entire session. So that ran from June on Wednesday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. all the way to September, until they were ready to go to college or go back to the rec clubs. And just so you understand the landscape, when we talk about like community affordable programming, we're talking about $100 an hour to get training if you just travel into Ajax. We're offering it for $100 for the entire session. That's $5 an hour that it broke out to. Right? And we have kids that went to Centennial, we have kids that are at Durham and at York and in the States playing basketball. So what we're trying to do is have conversation about mental health. We had a mindset coach come in. We're talking about leadership. We're talking about obviously skill development, but what we're really trying to do is make sure that we understand that we're building student athletes. That's the goal, right? Is because the window is so small. I spent 10 years in professional hockey, and a lot of people don't understand that window to make it from wherever you're playing minor hockey to OHL is like 3%. And then that percentage should go from the OHL to the NHL is like 1%. So we're just trying to make sure that our individuals understand that, yeah, you can chase your goals, you can chase your dreams, whatever it is that you're after, but just understand that, you know, you got to make sure that education is on the forefront. And that's what we're trying to teach through that program. Our second program that we're super excited for is our Durham Little Ballers program, right? That starts on Monday. So we partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we partnered with the YWCA. We run it from Monday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. in Oshawa, and it's from October all the way to the new year. 50% of the enrollments of this program are free. We went to the Big Brothers Big Sisters in the YWCA and said, let's put some youth into basketball and let's give them the opportunity to start shooting some hoops and be around that. And even they might not, financially might not be able to be there, or they might be struggling, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're trying to give some exposure to the sport. So that was 50% of that program. And then the rest of the groups pay $50 for the entire house league session. We're talking about house league basketball for 10, 11, and 12-year-old kids. That costs $50 for the entire season. When we broke it down, it's like $2.50. Like absolutely unheard of to have a youth be able to take part in a program for $50. So we're super excited about that. And then the last kind of tier to our level up this summer is we moved away from our organization that we were previously with. We just didn't morally line up on a couple fronts. And we started what is True North Elite Basketball, right? So both my teams, I had a U17 group last year and a U19 group. Our U17 group lost in the gold medal game for the Ontario Championships, and our U19 group won the Ontario Championships. Right? Thank you. And like in a hockey community, you know, like we know about OMHAs, but nobody knows about the fact that we won OBA championships, which is very comparable to you know, anything the Toros do or hockey just in general. We're not trying to diminish hockey. I'm just saying that there's great things being done just in this room by itself, right? And so when we're talking about our program, we're talking about building a program of respect, community, affordable programming, but at the same time, we're having a conversation about leadership and open conversation about mental health. And so we have some volunteers that aren't here today, but Coach Anthony's a great guy. You know, he has a young daughter. He finds time to come to the program and give back to the kids, right? Coach Jeff couldn't be here today. He's a prison guard, 20-year plus. So when the guys, when he talks, like the guys listen, right? It comes from a space of understanding what consequences are. And then my guy Roger just came in here, like from day one. This guy has been here through everything. Like me and him in classrooms, no heat, we're teaching the gap philosophy. You know how fun that is to teach like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids when they're freezing? Like, yeah, gap philosophy, right? And my man Roger's been there since day one. Whatever it is, we're at schools, we're talking to hockey teams, we're talking to the basketball team, all that kind of stuff. So lots of respect, my man. Thank you for that. And even more important, I had some players come today. So my guy Luke Ram's here, right? I love this guy. So part of our Ontario Championship team had a massive role in our group. And with Luke, you know, probably about this time last year, Luke was playing prep basketball for another coach, and I could start seeing the love for the sport break down, right? I could start to see like he just wasn't enjoying it. This is a guy who drives from Picton every practice, right? Like dedication's there. You don't even have to ask about dedication. He's about it, right? So I start seeing him break down. He comes back to my team, and we start pushing towards going towards an Ontario Championship. And obviously we won an Ontario Championship with Luke and his group. But one thing I wanted to highlight is when you go into tournament weekend, you know, if you want to kind of think of March Madness, if you will, for us, we go into tournament provincials, right? My team's ready. We've been grinding. We're like top tier in our group. We're expected to win, right? We've been working all year long. And the first tip off, I could just tell, or at least I felt like I could tell, it's quiet, right? Our guys are nervous. Our guys on the bench are quiet. Like, nobody's really doing anything. And I think to myself, like, I probably said it to Roger, like, this doesn't feel good, right? But we fast forward, we're probably like 3 minutes in, and my man Luke put the team on his back, the first 10 points, starts leading the group in the right direction, and that's really what pathed us in the right way to go and win an Ontario Championship, is for him to really say, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on my back, and the team's going to pick me up later. So the proud moment for me is that he understands leadership, right? And that's the real goal. So good for you, my man. I love you. Next up, you know, I hold him super close to my man Paxton, right? And his dad, Dean, here. Here's the thing about Paxton. Like, he's working on some stuff, and we'll keep that between us, Paxton, but I love the fact that you're chasing that healthy state, man. You're trying to get better every moment. You're trying to level up. That's what I love about you, right? And the thing about Paxton is he's cool, calm, collected, right? He just does his thing by himself. He's over here in the corner just warming up. Coaches come to us in tryouts and stuff, and he's like, who's this curly hair white kid? And I was like, yeah, like, you know, I know he's quiet, but like before you know it, where after the first quarter, this guy's got 15 points on you because he's just an absolute grinder, like a sniper, right? You forget about him, and that's okay. We like it that way. And my man Paxton is working towards where he's after. And we're talking about a 17-year-old kid here, right? Like, he's proving towards going to college and trying to be the best person that he can. So that's my man Paxton. And I wouldn't be remiss to mention my man Chad, right? You'll see Chad when Chad stands up and makes a tall shadow, right? But my man Chad, like, I have so much respect for him to watch him go through a situation. Elite basketball player, right? Like, always has been. Everyone knows him as that. Came to a program that I kind of was a part of, and he struggled. The head coach and him just didn't get it, and I watched it just like fall apart. I watched this guy like didn't even feel like he wanted to be in the gym. It hurt my soul because like our whole reason that we're here, the vessel that I have is to coach individuals and help them learn skills to be great human beings, right? So I see my man, he's like breaking down, and he's got this injury that we just kind of don't know is a true, like if it is an injury, doctors say it's not, whatever, so on and so forth. Long story short, fractured his leg, right? Gets his surgery done. Now my man's on the men back, he's with us, and I'm super proud to have him. I got to watch him play today, and it's great to see him, like, although he doesn't smile too often on the court, but it's great to see him just move, man. I can see his eyes going. I'm just really proud of him. So that's my man Chad. And I know like it feels like it take a little bit of time, but that's my program. Those are my people. That's my family. Like, those people that are there are the people that I love. I could talk about every single player we have, but it's important for me to make sure that the community understands what we're doing, right? It's not just basketball to us, right? Like MMA and mixed martial arts is to you. Like, this is our sport. This is what we chase for. This is what we're trying to get better at. And to share some of those numbers with you, like, Level Up Leadership this year will impact over 150 youth, right? And that's just not, and like school season just started, right? So we're talking about like the tail end of last school season. We're not even talking about like the ability, like our sport group obviously is vast and we have lots of conversations, but going to the schools is really where we saw the benefit, right? Is really trying to build that program. So we're continuously moving on that and trying to grow that program. Little Ballers is gonna see over about 25, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds come into basketball for the first time and play at a community affordable rate. And I'm sure you can see it, right? It's about saving money, right? It's about offering sport for youth so that they can come, you know, just like Brennan's doing, right? It's about, not everybody has money. Not everybody's able to pay the fee. And so we're offering programs at the bare minimum. We have support. We're trying to make sure that youth understand that no matter what it is, that sport, basketball, can do the exact same thing it did for a kid like me. His dad wasn't around. Coaches really helped lead me. Like, that kind of stuff is really what we're trying to get to. And then on top of it, our elite camp saw over 30 to 35 elite basketball players, and, you know, come to our program, learn about mental health, learn about leadership, learn about basketball. So those numbers are really, really important to us, and I thought I would share them with you. And as we progress on, I get asked this question all the time from my players, is like, Coach, what's the #1 skill that I can be working on, right? And I always respond with the skill of being unstoppable, right? We're talking about like the skill of just not giving up, the skill of having that effort, the skill of like, it doesn't matter, like I got knocked down, I'm gonna get back up, I'm gonna keep moving at this. And I like to share this story fairly often with everyone about Tiger Woods, right? We're talking about like the 2005 Masters, we're on the 16th hole. I'm a big golf guy, so sorry, just we're here. But par 3, right? If you can picture like the green is here, and in front of it's the water. Tucked in the back is like where they put all the fans, right? There's a 4, 5, 6 rows deep. And Tiger Woods is leading this tournament. He steps up on the tee block, and he like immediately shanks it left, like right into the crowd. And you can hear everybody like, man, that was a terrible shot. Like, might even be like one of the worst shots he's ever hit in his life, right? Tiger gets up to the ball, locks in, and what he can see now is obviously a big hill, the green, and the green has like a tier, right? A tier goes down the hill into the pin. And so Tiger hits his ball up onto the top of that tier, and it starts to roll down the hill, and the crowd's going crazy, right? It starts to get closer and closer. And you probably know the video I'm talking about, right? It gets closer and closer to the hole. And the crowd's going nuts until it just gets right to the edge of the cup. And it sits on the edge of the cup for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, and it goes in, right? And the crowd goes nuts, everybody goes crazy, and if you're watching the broadcast, they would have said to you, wow, this is considered one of the greatest golf shots of all time. And the reason why I bring that up to you is because right before that was considered one of the worst shots of his career. So for a majority of us, we stop right there, right? We stop because we're scared, we're worried about what's next. We stop because we're not sure what that life looks like and whether or not we're really trying to get in there and be nervous and be uncomfortable in our space. But a guy like Tiger Woods that has that unstoppable feeling, if he stopped, we would have just been robbed of one of the greatest golf shots of all time. Right? So I share that with you because I tell my guys all the time, like, it's that skill of being unstoppable. It's a skill of, I failed that math test, it's okay, I'm just going to keep coming back, right? My coach benches me, it's okay, I'm going to keep coming back, right? My girlfriend breaks up with me, that's okay, I'll get another girlfriend, it's okay. Like, I'm just going to keep moving forward. Regardless of whatever it is, I'm just going to keep pushing forward, and I'm not going to let that kind of stuff stop me. So when we talk about our team, when we talk about Luke and Chad and Passion, we talk about resilient guys that continuously never let it stop. It doesn't matter what it is, however it is, because every setback sets you up for a comeback. I truly believe that. And we're constantly on that movement when we're trying to level up and we're trying to continuously push our pace. So I appreciate you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Scott Dixon.